We have Nick here, CEO of Factory Labs. We're going to learn about that. Nick was sent to me by an old friend of mine who's been a reporter and a blockchain building sort of person. And I said I needed someone to talk about ZK proofs and just ZK in general. I just got this big airdrop from ZkSync I want to talk about that just put like a couple grand into my pocket just because I was in a game a couple months ago. I want to talk. There's a lot of importance. What exactly is going on with any of it? Because it's basically base and ZK are the two things I hear about this whole quarter, right? So what makes ZK interesting?
Oh, what makes ZK interesting? Yeah, I watched a talk at East Prague recently with the guys from ZooPass, who really sort of hit the nail on the head, I think, with why I think it's interesting. Where he referred to it, Richard, the kind of project lead there, referred to it as a kind of new era of cryptography, where the first era was primarily defensive, and the old era was defensive. The new era is kind of like offensive. We can go, instead of just protecting our assets, from outside attackers, we can now use it practically to generate proofs and reveal information very selectively in a very targeted fashion that opens up a lot of new use cases.
And then, okay, that's saying that's a lot of mouthful there, right? So what is the specific use case that is meaningful for me?
So I'll sort of dig into the ZooPass thing a little bit more because it's quite a nice practical use case. That
Please.
is, you generate a proof that I am on a list, for example. That means I'm allowed to come in. So I give my name and address, my email address, whatever, to some group, but I just need to prove that I'm on the list. I can reveal that I'm on the list without actually revealing my name and address or whatever. I can just prove that I'm in a set of people. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
way of like proving that you are part of a set of data without revealing what the data is. So I'm not providing knowledge of the data itself, but proving that I have the answer, whatever it might be. So that can be proving that I'm, in a set of people that allows me access to something. It could be I'm proving um, that I'm over 18. It could be I'm proving that I have the ability to transact or have the permission to transact in this network. Any of these things. So it allows you to selectively unveil information without revealing the information itself.
Okay, and this is a very cool question, by the way, because what is the difference between ZkSync and ZK proof as a technology per se? Because ZK proof is a way to verify the something like transactions, information, whatever,
Yeah,
and how the ZkSync comes into play.
yeah. So the it's a ZK rollup, right? So basically, there's a brand of these layer twos that are coming out. Primarily, the architectures are optimistic rollups and zero knowledge rollups. And the zero knowledge rollups, like ZkSync, use primarily the succinctness aspect of ZK. So there's a kind of these privacy implications, which is really interesting. Allows me to sort of selectively reveal information, but they also have these really interesting scalability utilities, which is that I can compile transactions and compile them into a proof. And what I can do is then create this succinctness, which is just wrap this entire sort of bundle of information into a single proof, and then prove that it's all valid as part of this bundle. And that's how basically ZkSync, it uses ZK snarks,
Mhm.
which, remind me if I can get this acronym right now, succinct non-interactive arguments of knowledge.
Mhm.
And it's the succinct bit that gives you this kind of really interesting scalability, like potential. So it wraps all of this data into a single proof, and that succinctness gives you the layer two scalability that you're looking for. And ZkSync leverages that.
So is it correct that ZkSync is actually just another way to roll up EVM transactions, which runs on your own layer 2 into the layer 1. Does it mean this?
Essentially, yes. That's what it's another architecture for finding scalability at L2s.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what about the other like applications of ZK stuff? Is it available to build zero knowledge applications on top of ZkSync or not?
Yes. So essentially the ZkSync architecture. I'll be honest, like kind of it's quite confusing at times. Like the ZkSync sort of docs are all over the place. It's like exactly what is the delineation between all these different architectures is sometimes difficult to pick apart. I would say the bits that I've gleaned from it as it's you can think of the ZK stack. I think they call it. They've got quite a like murky brand with lots of different names, but they call it the ZK stack. And that basically is a bit like there's another group over at Polygon. Polygon have this thing called CDK, which is basically a architecture for generating your own ZK rollups. ZkSync have their own one they call the ZK stack, which is slightly equivalent to the OP superchains. And they're all aiming for this kind of like roll up architecture that people like build out the ZkSync ecosystem by spinning up the ZK stack. So few of the things that enables you to do. One is you can have these ZK chains that are interoperable across this ecosystem. So leveraging ZK, I think they call it hyper bridges, but you can bridge transactions between different chains within the ZK stack, and it's all kind of atomic, all wraps up into a kind of proof that's attested onto the L1 in a bundle. So each of these chains wraps up, rolls up the transactions, and then all of the chains roll up into a single transaction. You get to push this like meta proof onto the L1. So you get this really kind of open ecosystem that's fundamentally interoperable. So that's one of the things that I think they're aiming for in this ecosystem is this interoperability between essentially sovereign chains. And another one of the things that is a kind of leading feature of the ZkSync ecosystem is kind of native account abstraction. So they like account abstraction is not fully operational on Ethereum yet. They're pushing ahead a little bit on some of the account abstraction features. So some of these are things like paymasters, which means that you can essentially abstract away the gas fees for users on your chain. So users can like onboard onto the chain, start using and operating the dApps, for example, and then essentially you can subsidize the gas fees for that user.